so should be good to go
Okay,
now.
there you go. All right. Hey guys, my name is Sandesh, and I just graduated, and then Brett.
Okay.
We have Brett here.
Yeah, I'm here.
This is our first time recording our own Zoom, so it's gonna be a little bit weird. So sorry about that. So today we're gonna be learning some pretty interesting stuff. So that's a preview of Fusion. So this requires Fusion, as you can probably imagine. So I have put this Advanced Fusion Workshop document within the Solar Car Mechanical Workshop folder. And just like you can look through it to kind of review and look at some of the links that I've posted here. So Brett, if you also want to go here, you can. But I think we'll probably click on and go through all the links myself. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yes, I'm also sharing computer sound now. So today we will briefly cover simulation. I feel like we've already gone over simulation, right, Brett? Like I've given a tutorial in the past.
Yes.
Then I guess in that case, we might not even need to go through simulation. But today we'll go over Fusion scripting and plugins. So today I'm not sure how much of the actual code I'll be going through with you guys, but I think it's just like important to know like about this tool moving forward, because I think it can significantly improve your design process. I don't think, like personally for me, I didn't know that this was possible with CAD software. So this is also possible with SolidWorks, but I think it's a little bit more complicated because I think you have to know C++ for SolidWorks, and most mechanical engineers on the team won't know C++. But with Fusion, all it requires is Python, and I think like most of us have used Python at some point. Yeah, but basically I didn't really find out about this until it was too late in the design process. But if I had known earlier, I feel like we could have, for the previous car, really been able to optimize designs by automating some of the processes. And I think now, by making you guys aware of this tool early on in the process, and especially as when you're pretty young, I think wait, it's recording, right? It is.
Yes.
I think you guys would be able to utilize it, and even if like you personally don't use it, I think Brett, as a director, I think it's definitely a tool you should know is in your pocket. And yeah, I hope that you all share the same excitement that I have about this tool, because I'm personally a CS minor as well, and I feel like the future of mechanical engineering is being able to like kind of use all these tools to make the best designs possible. So what is CAD scripting? So let's just watch the first video so you guys kind of know what I'm talking about when I say this.
Add it to your My Scripts, and now you can grab this script.
So okay, first of all, so here, so this is Fusion. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. It's a little bit loud, but
Really?
a little bit. I mean, it's not terrible, but
Okay. Let me turn it down a little bit then.
Run it.
So
and what we're gonna
ran. So I don't know if you saw that. So he selected the script that he wanted to run, and then he ran it. I actually can't hear the sound for some reason, but it's okay.
do is it's gonna ask you to pick a base face. So in this case, I want to lay all the pieces of this chair out flat. And what I've done is I've just modeled up a piece of a block to represent a sheet of plywood. So I like to do this just to give myself like kind of the space reference. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select
this toolbar right here on the right. So that's part of the like plugin, the script that he created. So he basically created this like graphical user interface, right? And it's not that hard to do it at all, just because it uses, by using something called an API, like an API Fusion API, it makes it pretty easy to code a lot of these things.
Gotcha. Do I need to
Like this
install
face,
Python on
and then make
my
sure you
computer?
pick the other selection box for the other faces.
So
And I'm just
in
going
order to start Fusion scripting, I mean, no, not necessarily PyCharm, but you might need another editing software, another IDE. But I guess I can kind of lead you through that process.
to pick all of these. And what it's going to do is it's going to create joints between these faces and this master face. And then I'm also able to input spacing. Right now, the script just automatically spaces everything in the Y direction. Looking to add the ability to pick the direction you want to space things in, just to give you kind of a starting point to move things around. So we'll say 3, and I'll hit OK. And we can see the result, which is pretty nice.
Yeah,
so now they've basically been all laid out flat and then spaced
yeah, so okay, basically that's
linearly
kind of like how useful scripting can be. In this case, it was used more as a tool, right? Where he wrote the script that would allow him to like select each of these bars, and then it would just like place it onto this plane, right? And that was a script, and it's very like obviously if you had to do that for every single bar, it would have taken a long time, right? And especially with a tool like that, now he can do that with like if he'd had a different wheel or a different chair design, right? Then he could like literally just use that same tool and it would be done in a second. So that's kind of the whole like power. And that's like so that tool that you saw, it's very similar to a tool you would see like within Fusion itself. But unfortunately, like Fusion doesn't have a tool like that. So that's why he had to make that tool himself. And it's possible to do so.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
nice. So that's kind of like the power. Does that seem kind of cool to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like hit it in a second, right? Yeah. So that's basically like the same power that we can have as a designer through Fusion scripting. So okay, so that's kind of an example as to why, like, I think it's pretty powerful and it would be useful. I think another reason, I think this might be a little bit more personal. So maybe like if there was someone who was like me, who came along, who was interested in mechanical engineering, but also wanted to do like more like a cool, like really like advanced design. I think I'm personally more of a design guy than a manufacturing guy. I think everyone has their own taste, but I think this would really attract someone with like wanted design experience. But this would also be used for like manufacturing purposes, where you could, I mean, honestly, like the tool that we just saw in this YouTube video, it was for like manufacturing purposes, right? So I guess it can be used for that. So I think this like utilizing something like this within our design process would definitely also attract a lot of members, because it's very like it's advanced, right? It's like stuff that like you wouldn't do like in other clubs, right? Like you can still do CAD, but like not many clubs are doing design at this level. And this is kind of the stuff that like they do at companies. And I mean, not like all the time, but like it's definitely one of the cooler things in my opinion that happens. So but like, I think like this way we can modernize solar cars so that people who are always using the best tools and methods for problem solving, design and problem solving. So like, I mean, possible application for this would be like most of the time, right? Like when we have to make a design and like optimize the design, we make the design and then run a simulation. Then like something doesn't work out, then we modify the design again, and then repeat the process until the part is optimized. But that like process is very time consuming. So I mean, that's something that could honestly be like a little bit like automated, especially if like the results that we're looking for it's more like especially if it's more linear, if that makes sense. It's like pretty streamlined, like it'd be very easy to tell when it's being optimized. sometimes there are cases when it's not, and it takes a little bit more of an analysis. But I think by just like coding this process, especially for like a very simple analysis, it might be a bit of work up front, but it will save significant time down the line as the part is being optimized. Actually, I personally haven't used the simulation. Like I haven't automated like the actual FEA, like finite element analysis part of Fusion. But I think like you'd still do something similar, like for example with the suspension. So like you develop a suspension geometry, and then you kind of like use that to automate the code to optimize like the travel or something of the suspension system. I don't know, something like that. That could be very useful. And another example, like I think this is pretty cool what Virginia Motorsports did, and I think this is one of the reasons, like after seeing this, that I thought it'd be a good idea to move over to Fusion. Is so Virginia Motorsports has a script that generates G code, right? That would be used by the plasma cutter, like within the Fusion tubular part file after a click on a particular tubular intersection, right? You know how like hard it is to like notch a, well, I mean, it's actually not that hard, but like notching a tube, right? Like you have to, there's either the manual method where you use a hole saw, and there's this tool, and honestly, like I was thinking that the tool worked out better, but like the hand tool rather than the plasma cutter, because the plasma cutter there's a lot of I forget what you call it, but it's like almost like melted sludge that ends up like being left behind, and the finish is sometimes an issue. But I guess that's besides the point. But like suppose you're using the plasma cutter, and they actually I think they built it custom. But they basically like created a Fusion script that generates a G code like from an intersection. So you select like a intersection on the tube, and you want to make the profile there. Then like you just click there, and then you click on the tube, and then you just say like run, and then it like exports a G code file that can be now directly read by the plasma cutter machine. Gotcha. So I mean that's really cool, right? And that like saved a lot of time rather than having to like manually like export it into like manually flatten the curve and then export it as a DXF and then like convert it into a G code. I don't know, but I think that like definitely saved a lot of time. And then I think the other big reason CAD scripting is useful is just as computer scientists develop APIs to make previous work accessible and useful, right? So like, for example, like, have you ever used like a random number generator on like Python or MATLAB? Like you just had to generate a random number, right? So for that, all you literally had to do was like you had to import a class called like random, and then you just had to do random.rand int, and then that like returned a like random number, right? And that's basically like the essence of like an API, which is like you didn't have to like internally like program like like out of a list of 1 to 10 like let's use some like weird algorithm to with a seed to develop like extract the random number. You didn't have to code all that, right? Like that's something that the API, that method provided you, and that did for you. So just as how like in CS you develop APIs to make previous work accessible and useful, we can develop scripts to help with design and analysis that can be used over and over again. So like, for example, could be like a script that generates a CAD of a basic suspension design based on inputted dimensions or like inputted requirements or something like that. And that's definitely possible. I mean, obviously it's a little bit advanced, but I think it's definitely something that could be done, and I think it'd be very useful in the long run. In the short run, it might seem like, oh, it's a lot of work, but in the long run, it's pretty useful.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's going to be tasks that it's better suited for. Like if we're just
Yeah.
making like one bracket, then it's whatever. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, something like suspension where we have to go through and test it a lot, and there's a lot
Mhm.
of iterations. I think it would be
Yeah,
very useful.
yeah, for sure. So okay, so let's kind of get started. So Fusion has integrated scripting into its development GUI. I actually realized that this thing would be pretty short. I thought this would all take a little bit longer, but that's fine, right? Like it's about getting through the most information in the shortest period of time. But so basics of Fusion does have an integrated scripting environment uh, that works pretty well. So do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so you go to Solid, right? Like this is like what you see
Yep.
when you just open up Fusion. You can go to Tools, and then within Add-ins, there's something called Script and Add-ins. So you literally just click that, or you can just Shift S, as you can see, like Shift S, right, and then Shift S.
Got you.
Shift S. Do you see this?
Hmm.
Yeah. So Shift S is yeah. So now these are all the scripts that you could run, and honestly, there are already like scripts that you can use from before. That's like that works.
That's pretty cool. I have one for
Yeah,
Bolt.
yeah, exactly. Like yeah, you already did that, so that's good. So basically, what you can do is one, you can download plugins and then run it yourself, right? So these are all like previously downloaded ones, the ones that you see here.
Right.
They're like Hype, Bolt, Bottle, Spurgear, Test Script. Yeah, they're previously downloaded, and they're actually like people who develop these all the time. And you can probably like find like if there's like something you feel like could be done here, then you first maybe just want to go in and then like download that and then try running it and see what happens, right? So that's like one. But the other is you can create your own. And the way you create is like click create here, and then you choose your programming language. So you might want to try this right now if you
Okay.
can. So right here, so create, right? And then choose Python, and then choose like script, like testing or something, and then write your name. I mean, although you don't really have to write your name, but it's fine. And then use like create, press enter, and then you see that here, right? Like you'll see the file that you created on my scripts area right here.
Mhm. I'm good to go.
You're good to go. Okay, so yeah, just like first run it. What does it do?
Just says hello script. That's all.
Yeah, so it already has a bit of code in there. It already has a bit of code, and that's like one and then it's just like hello, and that itself is already kind of cool. Like you can see that you can not only like modify the whatever is within the like the Fusion sketches features, but you can also like generate like a GUI, right? Where you have this option, like you let the user type in like the like input and then select like yes, no, and then based on that you can do something, or you can just like display messages as that thing did, right? So
Hmm.
now try edit. Now this is where I kind of just want to guide you through how like you would be editing these things. So edit is like how you would actually go in and look at the code and edit it.
Got you.
So yeah,
Mine
what
had
is
a
it?
pop-up that just said, here, I guess I could share my screen or something. But I clicked edit and it said, editing and debugging of scripts and add-ins requires Visual Studio Code to be installed. Fusion 360 uses Visual Studio Code to edit and debug scripts and add-ins. Please download and install whatever.
Yeah, so basically you do need to install Visual Studio.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely something like, but you don't have to do that right now. So I guess the one thing I'd be careful about is when I downloaded it initially, like Visual Studio, it didn't work because apparently there's like a certain version of Visual Studio, only certain versions of Visual Studio will work. So I would just Google like Autodesk Fusion Visual Studio version, and then it will tell you which version is compatible, and you can download that.
Okay, I'll just follow along with you then.
Yeah, so yeah, that's fine for now. But okay, as you can see, when I did select testing.py, right, and like this is what it looks like. You see it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is just the code. Yeah, I can go a little bit more into the detail on that in a bit. So now, yeah, so now like if you want to just see, right, like so let's play around with like a plugin that was already created. So let's do like gear for a gear, right? If you can see my screen, and I'll just run spur gear. Do you see this?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so this right here, what you see, including the picture, everything is like, it was programmed in. So this is all programmed in. This is not like, and it's like someone wrote it within that one file, like one script. It's not like it's part of this whole Fusion thing that you downloaded. I mean, the API is part of the Fusion that you downloaded, but in terms of like actually programming this to display with all these inputs, everything, the picture, this is that one script, right? It's like already, like you can already see how powerful it is. So here, like you have all this input, and what this script allows you to do is you can like do this. And for example, right, if you're trying to make a assembly or something within on Fusion, right, then instead of like creating your own gear, you can literally just use this, right? So it's like such a time saver. It's a really big time saver, and this is like a great example of like how and like where you want to use Autodesk Fusion scripting. So yeah, and then I mean you can try it as yourself as well. But when I press OK, look, you see this?
Yeah, no, that seems really powerful.
Yeah, so like you can literally like change it around, and then it'll like make exactly what you input. Yeah, so that's like that's a example of like how powerful it is and why it's useful. But yes, okay, so yeah, I wanted to go through that example with you, and you can go through the other ones as well. So now I'll kind of explain like, I guess sort of briefly, the whole programming framework and how like you actually program these things. So first, let me go add-ins, or I could have done Shift S. And then let me go back to the testing that like we just created a second ago. I'll edit, and then we can kind of see what's up. So first of all, you see my screen, right? So you actually import all of these, and all of these are ways that you access, you can access Autodesk Fusion directly. This run function is like everything inside this run function is run by Autodesk. right? This is where like you actually like develop your GUI, where you start modifying your part on Fusion. And this is what happens. Do you know what a try except statement does?
Yeah, we had, I think pretty much every engineer in first year has to take a CS class, which has Python in it, so this is pretty useful.
Okay, awesome, nice. So yeah, so I mean everything it will run within the try. If there's an error, it'll display this error. But as you can see right here, we have we're accessing the like one of the methods within like the ADSK core application, and then now we're accessing that to get the user interface, right? It's all like a hierarchy, and I can go over that in a second. And then finally, within UI, within like dot user interface, there is this method called dot message box that will generate a message box with whatever you enter in here. So I could change this to like, hello, Brett, right? And I'll Control S, save it, and then Shift S or Shift S, and then testing, and then I run it. Hello, Brett, right? Pretty powerful already.
Oh yeah,
Even though you're just texting that, changing the text. Yeah, so that's that. So it's like pretty easy to like have something like display whatever text you want it to display to begin with. But to understand like a little bit more and to be able to do more things with it, it's very important to understand the framework. So yeah, I guess so. First, I would just recommend using Python. I think most people, most CAD engineers won't really know C++. So Fusion API is the key to being actually like able to know how to code this thing, right? It's really like specific to Fusion to know like where the sketch modification methods are, where like the feature creation methods are, and things like that. So let's first go over how the Fusion API object model works. You see this?
wow, yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. So yeah, it is, because I mean there are a lot of methods, right? So you can kind of see it's like a hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tree that kind of goes like one within. So let's kind of like go down here to understand. So like for example, like whole feature. So let's say that you want to programmatically create like a whole feature, right? So how do you like? I mean, there's no method that it's not like you can just say like whole features on the script and then it'll like generate it for you. You kind of have to call it based on the object tree, right? So first you have to access like the document, and you can kind of see what's happening here. Well, I guess it's not a good example, but well, I guess no, you can. So there's the application.get. So this is application. So first we had to do application, and then we had to do .get. And .get, it's not listed here. So that's like there's some of the things that yeah, and also here, like you can kind of see like what the legend is. So collection of objects, standard objects. There's sketch related objects, body related, construction geometry, assembly related. So you can kind of see that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so first you get the application.get, and then within application, you can kind of see like user interface, right? So we have to do .application.get and then .user interface. And that's kind of how we're able to access the UI, the message box. So it's like so application user interface. I mean, it's not exactly that, because we had to do like .get, and then within that we had to do like user interface. So that's basically how it would work. So, and then if you wanted to access like the folder dialog, then you would do .folder dialog, right? Like dot user interface dot folder dialog.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, and as you can see, that's kind of what's happening here. Okay, so let me open up the other file. I think that'll go a little bit deeper into this. So, hello world is just something that I created, and you can find like simple scripts online to just like as something you can to work off of. So edit. Right. So this is a little bit longer. Excuse me. I don't know how I'm sick. I've literally been home all day, or all like week. I don't think I'm sick though. I think it might be just allergies. I never thought I had allergies, but like I think I do, because it kind of makes sense. Like after I went hiking, like the next day, it was like my nose was a little bit stuffy. Yeah, for some reason I just like thought that I never had allergies up until recently.
I think you can kind of develop them. I know my mom had that happen, where we had a dog for a while, and then she just developed a really bad dog allergy.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope it doesn't get that bad for me.
Yeah. Right.
So you have to. Don't tell me you had to kill the dog.
Oh no, we rehomed it, sadly.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Yeah. Okay. So let's get back to this. So as you can see within the try except here, we have a little bit more things happening here, right? So similarly, we have like app, application.get, and I think like you understand that now, right? Like I kind of talked about it. It's like application. So .get, that method.
Yeah, go ahead.
That .get method is, I mean, it doesn't like, it's not described through here. Yeah, I mean, of course, Zach actually texted me. So .get is just like, let me access this application kind of thing, .get. And I mean, you'll use it so frequently that honestly, you don't even have to like understand it. No, you just like use it kind of thing.
So like if I was going to go to another tree, I would do like app dot whatever, then get something else, and then get something else, and then.
Yeah, so if you wanted to like access, let's say you wanted to access documents, you would do, instead of app.user-interface, you would do app.documents, right? And you create a variable so that you don't have to type this whole thing, right? Because if I wanted to also like access, like I could technically here do, instead of app, I could do like adsk.core.application.get.user-interface.
Gotcha, and then it gets long.
Yeah, then it gets long, right? So it kind of makes sense. This is like, oh, okay, app is like app. This is the application that I'm currently on, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of how that works. And as you can see, that's kind of what's happening here with the documents. Right here, so app.documents.add, and then document types, Fusion document type. Wait, although I don't know, it doesn't really. It's not really using this ever again, so I don't know what's stored as a variable, but I mean, I don't know. Like I honestly haven't used it that much. I've just been through some of the tutorials. I haven't actually like made like actual like working product, something like useful, I guess, out of it. So I have a lot to explore as well. Hey Zach. Hey, what's up? How are you?
Not too bad. What about you guys?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How was your bike ride?
It was good. I mean, it's a little on the warm side today.
Oh, okay, I see. It was
But
warm here like the day before, but now it's like pretty chilly here.
really, yeah, it's about to be like 80 degrees tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to it.
You know, it was like 87, like almost 90 degrees here this past weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane.
Dang.
You wouldn't think that like, you know, it'd be this hot this early, this north and the west coast, but it was. Yeah.
What's this you got open here?
Yeah, you didn't expect us to be coding, right? In a
This is,
mechanical engineering workshop.
This doesn't look like Fusion to you, Zach?
Yeah, this is a fusion, you know. We're getting to that point where we don't even like use the user interface. We literally type a line to
crazy.
code, and then it will generate the parts for us.
Yeah. Sandesh developed an advanced AI that'll just do the whole car for us.
Oh, bet.
Yeah. So I guess Zach, you joined it a little bit late, so I'll just go through it briefly with you. Since I don't know like how much you'll end up using it, I mean you could depending on how much CAD work you might have to do. But I think the idea is like, especially since you guys are both like leaders on the team, it's important to understand like all the tools that we have, right? So I think this tool is very important. I didn't really find out about it until it was a little bit later on in my solar car career, or time with UVA solar car. Yeah, so this is basically so that we can automate some of the design process and not waste time, right? Like making simple modifications and then going back, like running simulations or like making the same part over and over again kind of thing. So I found out about it a little bit late. So I think the whole idea is if you guys are aware of it early on right now, especially early on the design process, you guys can recommend it where you see it fit. And I think it would help like the team become more advanced, especially since I think a lot of people are trying to like learn more advanced things to get the most out of their experience. So the whole idea is CAD scripting, and you can do it with like even SolidWorks, but I think SolidWorks, you have to know C++. But I think with Fusion, you can use Python, and that makes it like pretty easy for most people. Like, I mean, all engineers have to take some coding, so basically anyone will be able to do it. So like some examples are like Virginia Motorsports is a script that generates a G code. That would be used by the plasma cutter, right? After a click on a particular intersection on a tubular frame, right? And that helps it so that like all you have to do is click on a particular intersection, and it will generate the G code for you. And then you just like put your raw like tubes and then into the plasma cutter, and then just like run that G code, and then like voila, your part is done, right? So that's like very useful, and it saves a lot of time. And then I think another reason is just as CS we develop like APIs to make previous work accessible, right? Just like how, for example, with like a random number generator, like it's not like you have to go in and then write the algorithm for generating the random number yourself, right? All you have to do is like use the random framework and then just use that method, right? Like randint. And then similarly, we can do something with like even mechanical design by, for example, making a script that generates a CAD of a basic suspension based on inputted dimensions, right? And then you can use that over and over again, and you can use it to modify stuff. You don't have to do that, but that's like an example of what you could possibly do. So Fusion, you have probably downloaded Fusion, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to get on, but with Fusion, if you go to Tools, Add-ins, Scripts Add-ins, so this is where you find it, right? And this gear that you see on my screen right now, it's very useful because this is like a pre-built add-in. So all I do is like run, right? And do you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is someone like programmed in, right? This whole like this GUI right here, where you can input the different parameter. So let me just do like diametral pitch. Let me do like 30. And let me do like 112. I don't know. Probably gonna look super ugly. What? Okay, so there's something someone programmed in, right? And all I have to do is press OK. And it generated a gear for me. So this would be very useful if I'm like I'm making parts, right? Where I have to use gears a lot. And then all I have to do is just like input the parameter and then it'll generate the CAD for me. I don't have to go in. Like think about how long it would take, right?
Actually,
to make this. Like,
yeah, that's something my dad does. We have a transmission business, so our transmissions have somewhere between 120 to 140 gears in them, and
okay.
I would say about 30 of them are different gears. So we make a lot of gears, and one of our engineers actually he does all his work in SolidWorks, but he programmed a script in order to make all of his gears because we have like conical shaped gears, straight tooth gears like that, and kinds of fun stuff. So it's
Oh wow, that's really cool.
it
Wow, I didn't
essentially
know
turned
your
his
dad.
job from like a 3-day process to make one gear to where he could crank them out in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Jeez.
awesome. Yeah, I think that's all, this is all about that. And like, yeah, it would take a long time, right? Like making each one of these separate gears, but with this, it literally takes like less than a minute, which is crazy. Like it's an absurd improvement. So I guess like we can apply that similar like mindset to just our design process and be like, we can do this better. And I think this is a great way to improve the design process for sure. So if someone wanted to get started, how would you, right? So it's pretty easy. So Shift S again is a shortcut for finding the scripts. So if you want to create your own, what you do is you just like create, and then you choose programming language, Python, like name of the script, author, and then you create. And it'll show up here, right? Like for example, so testing is one that I created earlier with Brett. And if I just run it, it says like hello Brett, because I went in and modified saying like hello Brett, but it already comes in with this like hello message. It's like a hello world kind of thing for Fusion. But it comes with, it basically already comes with this chunk of code right here. All I did was like went in here and then like change it from hello like to hello Brett. So this is like importing all the Fusion packages, and then def run. So this is like everything inside here is run like on the Fusion application itself. And here like it's a try except if there's any error here while it's trying to get the application, it'll show this message. But to understand how to actually program this and how this all works, right? Because right now it seems so like arbitrary and esoteric. You have to understand the programming framework. Again, I would recommend using Python since like most are not going to use C++. So if someone like if someone did it in C++, then there's a low chance that someone else will come along who will also be able to like use it easily. So for the sake of like most people, I would just recommend using Python. And it's also like, I mean, honestly, Python it will save you a lot of time over using C++. Because you're just mainly like using the API, the methods anyway. So the first key is understanding how the API object model works. So that looks like a lot, right? So, but I mean, it's like, it looks like a lot, but it's like a gift in disguise.
Are these all just objects and methods inside the?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I actually didn't even know about this like the first few times I was like trying to understand this. But then like after looking at this, now like it's much easier because like before I was like, okay, like there's literally like no documentation on like what object contains like what method and that kind of stuff. So you can kind of see, right? It's like application. So for example, if I wanted to get user interface, I would have to do like the dot application dot get, and then like dot user interface, and then like dot documents if I wanted to get documents, right? And then for example, with message box, it's like application dot get, and then from that dot user interface, and then dot like message box. Although it's kind of weird because it doesn't really show message box here. But this only does display the objects, not like methods.
So do you think people in 11.10 have enough experience to do this kind of stuff to understand all that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So one of the things I think that might be a little bit of a learning curve is 11.10 was more like, here's the basics of Python, whereas a lot of this is, of course, I'm not a programmer, but it's like using other programs.
Yeah. So yeah, I know
There's
what
a
you
lot
mean.
of
I guess like Zach, the only thing would be just like the idea of classes, like object-oriented programming, like OOP.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe like people to understand it after taking 2110 or something like that.
Yeah, but I'll say that there are plenty of people who also minor in CS, so within the mechanical like curriculum. But honestly, like I don't think you really need to understand it. I mean, it looks like strange at first, but after some time, like it's pretty. I think it's not too bad. Sorry, I'm gonna have to sneeze again. Okay. Yo, hopefully I don't have the coronavirus. Be kind of sad.
Yeah.
But although with the coronavirus, you don't really get the like I have like a stuffy nose. I think coronavirus and a little bit runny. Like I think coronavirus is like mainly dry. Yeah.
Do you have allergies too?
Honestly, like I talked to a bit about it earlier, but I don't think I have allergies. Like didn't think I had allergies for the longest time, but now like recently I've been starting to think like maybe I do have allergies.
Yeah, my allergies pick random years to be active, and other years they're not there.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Like because of a specific tree that's only active 1 year or something.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. So I guess let's go back to this, and then I think I'll just go through this like basic thing right here, and then after that we're good, because I think the whole idea is not like you guys should be able to crank out a suspension through this by the end of the tutorial, but you know that it's here, so that you like actively try to like not like maybe not even actively, but like in the future, right? You kind of like have this problem, and you're like, oh, maybe we can like automate this process and develop tools like these. I'll make it like we can use like forever for solar car at UVA kind of thing. So this right here is like I think based on that object, like fusion object tree model, you can kind of see like so application.get, that's like you're always going to use it. Like I actually don't like completely even know why you do .get, but I think it's just like choosing. Well, I mean right here exactly, it kind of gives you what the method is: access to the root application object. So it's like it's a getter, or you know how you can like I mean I guess Zach in like 2110 you do like have a getter or a setter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you say so it's like .get kind of thing. So it allows you to like access it, I guess.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And then, but yeah, you always use this. And then after that, it's like app.userinterface, right? So the same thing, .userinterface. And you can kind of go back and see. Like, you see how it's like application user interface, application.documents, right?
Yeah.
So here it's application.documents add, and yeah, see, there you go. This is so useful. Actually, I was probably too impatient before to even realize that like if you just hovered over it, it will show it to you. I'm pretty used to using like very primitive like IDEs, right?
Yeah.
It's like basic text editor. But yeah, creates and opens a document of specified type. But yeah, I mean, this makes it super useful. And then design.app.activeProduct. So that's actually how you start like designing and like adding like to the Fusion file itself. So if you see the so app.active product. So I actually don't see active product up here, but you can also always do Control F.
Does anything happen if you hover over it? It looked like Autodesk was given some pretty good documentation for the other method.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's not giving it for that, but it's fine. So okay, so I guess this is the whole process. I think you have to follow this process no matter what, like whenever you're trying to like start modifying. But so basically, app.active product, like it selects the Fusion file that you have open, basically. So like for example, right, if I have like another sketch right here, then like how does it know? Like how do we tell it to choose this one or that one, right? So it will choose because like, so if we're on this, right, on this tab, and then we run the script, right, dot active product, it will choose the tab that's selected. So that's kind of how it works. So dot active product, and then from that you have root component of the active design. That's also something that you have to write basically for whenever you're coding this. And you can see right here, like component, right? Like component. And this is not the only documentation, by the way. It's the other documentation is more like the actual, like it has all the different methods that you use right here. You see this?
Gotcha.
And I put the link to this there, so you can kind of see like what the different commands are. Although I feel like it can be significantly improved because yeah, it can be significantly improved. But if you just search the method online, then you can find it. Okay, but then okay, so this is where you kind of gets cool, right? Like because usually when we create a sketch, we have to go in and then like start drawing lines. But here, what we're doing is root comp, and then within the sketches, we're doing adding, and we're adding a sketch on a plane basically. So but then we're choosing the XY construction plane, right? And by default, like there's YZ, ZX construction plane. So this is something you can call, right? It exists in every single thing. And then from there on, you have your object collection for points, and then you add your points to that. And ultimately to actually like make it display, you add like right here, sketch, like this will finally display it. I know that might sound a little bit confusing, but like basically what's happening here is that you see the coordinates,
Mhm.
right? Like we're creating that coordinate, and then we're adding it to this points collection, and then we display the points collection as a spline.
Got you. So if you wanted to like modify those values for your points, you would just make them like a variable, and then you could create a UI to go with it and
Yeah,
be like
sure,
insert your
yeah,
points.
exactly. You can do that. I mean, so the whole purpose of this, you don't even have to like have a UI. It can just be like you run it and then it does something for you. Like it's like pre-built. But I guess like whenever typically probably even more useful when you use a like UI and then you allow the user to input some information.
It would be simpler, but I see what you mean. Like you don't need to
Yeah.
have a UI. You can just edit
Yeah,
the code.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of, so like, let me just run this, right? So ship that. So I did hello world. So I'll run. So it's like I had the user interface part, right? Hello script, and you can see how it kind of created it.
Now with those points, do they default metric or do they default to whatever you're using as the standard? Like when you put in your coordinates there, I
I think
assume,
it does
you
it at
know, like,
whatever it's standard at that point.
so like 510 would be like 5 feet or 5 inches.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's inches.
Yeah, inches. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's most of it is just gonna be you guys like if you want to develop tools like these, you can. And I think like in the future, like even if you personally don't do it, I would definitely say like if there's a problem you encounter, you should try to like recommend it and be like, yeah, that's something we can do, and that would save us a lot of time. Yeah, but I guess like the whole purpose of today wasn't like to necessarily go through like make you guys like an expert coder and like have you guys develop an application yourself. But I think I did a decent job of giving you the gist, right? Of not only like why it's useful, like examples when it can be used, like how to use it if someone else has written it, and then all the way to like also understanding like how you would actually try to program it, and then just going through something simple. But it's kind of cool, right? Like you could literally have like a for loop here, right? And then like for I in like range like 9 or something, right? Then like you can just be like points dot add, and then
Make them all random or something.
yeah. So like let's do I, right? And then let's see what this does.
Do you need to end that?
Huh?
Actually, I have no idea how Python works.
Oh wait,
never took a
I think
Python
you're
class.
right. Sorry, you're right. Wait, no, do we have to end it?
I
Sorry,
don't
I haven't.
think you do, but
Yeah, I don't think you
I
do
also got
either.
a B in CS, so.
No, yeah, I don't think you do. Zach trying to trick me, man.
I thought it was
Showing
similar to
me.
MATLAB, and you need an end in MATLAB.
I think it's MATLAB. Yeah, okay, it's through MATLAB. Fine.
And I don't think you do end in Python. It's pretty much only return, and it's for functions.
Yeah,
But I don't
Zach got
remember.
me confused with MATLAB for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, could you just save that? Okay,
It's
so let's
so
see what
weird.
this does, eh? It's kind of exciting, to be honest with you. Don't save. Let me shift S. See, that's
There
pretty
you
cool,
go.
right? It's like automating it, and that's like, that's pretty cool. I mean, that excites me. But maybe my excitements are
Do a random number
a
generator
bit
until we
nerdy,
get our
but
suspension.
or we can literally do, yeah. I mean, like honestly, like you use the same process to do your suspension,
Like a
or
BOGO sort.
or we can do like literally do import random, right? So let's do like random dot rand int between 0 and, so guys, let's see, you know, we're really
We're
pushing
mixing
it
it up
here.
here.
We're pushing it here, guys.
Can make a goofy looking line.
Yo, let's see. Watch it draw something inappropriate. It's pretty funny. Wow. Wow, that's
So
beautiful,
weird.
right? Isn't
It's
that
just the
beautiful?
power
Like
of
you can
fusion.
literally create art, like abstract art using this.
New income for seller car.
Yeah, it's our solar
Very
car
much
art
so,
projects.
man. Like look at this. This is the type of shit you see in the A school, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about.
That's how they do it, actually.
Yeah, honestly.
We just did on a roller coaster. Look at this.
Honestly, right? Wow, that is a nice roller. Yeah, that is a roller coaster. You're totally right. But yeah, I mean, I think that's like really cool. I'm really like, I mean, I even like in my free time, like I hope I can like find some use for it, and then like I'll be able to develop something, right? But I think I'd be really excited to see like what you guys might possibly use this for. So, I mean, obviously you don't want to like push it to the point where it's like,
Not worth
is
it.
it like really necessary? But like I think there are definitely cases when this would be very, very useful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much all I have for today. If you, I mean, I don't know if it's useful, but I was thinking if you like really want to, we could, like I could try to do like a tutorial where we go like a little bit more in depth into actually like programming it for like more stuff, but that's up to you guys. But
Yeah, it could be kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe like let's just like post a recording. So we are recording this lecture, by the way, and yeah,
Anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law,
yeah,
Zach.
I guess so, yeah. And I guess if people like watch and they show like enough interest, then we can try to like do something more with it. Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm gonna end the recording there then.
Yeah, sounds good.